feeling like so sun-kissed right now. Like I feel like my skin is making out with the sun. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is officially technically my first video back since I had Zoe. So if you don't know, I had a baby. She's adorable and stuff. But yeah, she's currently with my mom and my aunts downstairs, which is why if you can hear any extra noise, I'm so sorry. This is the only time that I have had to film and I am taking advantage of it. So today I'm going to be talking about my postpartum experience. If you don't know who I am, sorry, I'm so sorry. I usually introduce myself like I'm just out of sorts today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bella. I am a life and style blogger for iambrownie.com, which basically means that I make lifestyle content. And I am also really into Instagram. My Instagram theme is basically just sharing rainbows and sunshine and, you know, bursts of happiness. Nothing too intense, you know, nothing too serious, nothing to put together, you know, just like nice stuff. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my postpartum experience so far and also my postpartum essentials. I'm wondering if it would make sense to have my essentials in this video. You know, one would think that, you know, if I was making a video about my postpartum experience, that I would have everything that I need. So hold on, let me get the stuff that I'm currently using. All right guys, so in this video I'm going to put different timestamps so that in case you don't want to hear about one particular thing, you can just kind of skip to what you need. But this video is divided into 5 parts. Number 1 is the essentials. Number 2 is what to expect. Number 3 is what not to do. Number 4 is advice on losing your belly. And number 6 is basically talking about like my stitches and like how I feel right now, like how I'm feeling right now. So I had my baby 2 weeks and 2 days ago from this video. She was born on the 19th of March. She came 2 weeks early, and Lord, am I thankful that she came 2 weeks early, just because she already weighed 3.19 kg, and like that was like my deadline. That was like deadline I gave God. Like I was just like, I don't want somebody that's going to come out of me, and by the time they come out of me, you understand, everything's going to just be jabano down there. So she came at the perfect time, God's appointed time, thanks be to God. But that is like the background information. I stayed in the hospital for technically like maybe like 30 plus hours from the point in time that I gave birth to her. So yeah, before I go into like what to expect and stuff like that, I felt like it was important to kind of tell you this basic information. This is my first child. I am not a professional at postpartum anything. This is like my first experience. Granted, I did a lot of research and stuff because I had a lot of time, you know, what with being pregnant and all, to like find out all the information I could possibly find out about these things and to obsess over them. One of my biggest obsessions was like the whole idea of having to get an episiotomy versus tearing, which I'll talk about later on in the what to expect section. So now for the essentials. The day that I went into labor, I was making padsicles, and I had put off making my padsicles for so long. Like I had put it off for as long as I possibly could have put it off for. And this was not for any particular reason except like pure laziness, to be completely honest with you. I was purely lazy. I eventually made my padsicles, thanks be to God, and they were a serious lifesaver. What I do with padsicles, the videos in my highlights on my Instagram, there's still like the whole recipe and the whole process. So if you want to see that, feel free to go on my Instagram. It is the Browniegram. I'll put a link in the description box so that you can go straight to my Instagram. But that was like my number 1 essential, really. In reality, that was probably like my top thing. Or maybe not my top thing, but it was something that I was like, oh my gosh, thank God I have. Because it was so soothing to down there, especially because I did tear. And more on that in my labor and delivery more on that on my in my labor and delivery story time, which if you haven't watched will be somewhere. It'll be like there'll be a card somewhere. But I did tear, and this was so soothing for the soreness. I used like these always maxi pads to make mine so that it's really covered everywhere, and it absorbs a lot as well. So this acts like a pad, and it also acts like a soothing mechanism. It doesn't last forever, obviously. It will get warm after a while. Your body heat will warm it up. But I found that the first day that I noticed that my bleeding had or it significantly started to reduce was when I remembered I had this. Because for the first 2 days, I was kind of like in a daze, you understand? Like I wasn't really understanding what was going on and stuff. But by the time I started using this, the first day that I used this, I felt like my bleeding kind of like reduced. I felt like it reduced. It might be a coincidence, it might not be, but I definitely felt significantly better after using the padsicles. So that's my first essential, the padsicles. The second thing that I used was actually given to me by my hospital, and it is called a Peri Bottle. It is a cleansing bottle for your vajayjay. Now, I feel like most hospitals should give you this, but if they don't, you can always just buy it from like any pharmacy or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that they have stuff like this, and it just helps you clean anytime you pee. So you just pee and then you squeeze the water to like rinse off that area, because you're not going to be able to be using tissue there for a very, very long time. I can't remember the last time I used tissue except like in my butt area. Like I can't remember what is tissue paper. So you clean that off, and then if you feel like you need some extra drying, then you can have like a towel. But for me, I just used to like I still use this every single day, and like I said, I'm more than 2 weeks now. The likelihood is that I'm going to be postpartum for a very long time. So I'm just starting my own journey as I'm talking to you right now. This is just the beginning of the journey, but I feel like it's important to start every journey on like good footing. So that Peri Bottle, really important for me. Another thing that really helped me, but this was mostly in the hospital, were these mesh underwear that they gave me. I didn't really use them when I came home, even though they gave me extra, but it's just a representation here of disposable underwear. So I bought a separate pair of underwear, like a separate packet of underwear for postpartum. I bought the big, the granny ones that hold everything in and are really comfortable and can take your pad. It's so important to be comfortable, and because like a lot is just going on down there. So the third essential is definitely disposable underwear that it won't pain you if something gets on it, because sometimes when you are bleeding these things happen. Next up, I have this, and this was given to me by the hospital as well, and it is called, can I reach it before I start talking? It's called Dermapasta. It is for pain and itching. It provides fast relief for anywhere that's injured. It has aloe and lanolin in it, and basically what they told me is to spray it on the place that was stitched. So like spray it on my vagina. It has like a little hot sensation to it, but it is very soothing, and I believe that you can get this anywhere. It's hospital trusted, hospital recommended, but you can get it at any pharmacy as well. Now, one thing that a lot of people that have had people that were experienced in childbirth and stuff, and significantly older than me, suggested to me was to have a sitz bath. And a sitz bath is basically you like soaking that area that you experience some trauma. So it's not just for people that have vaginal births, it's also for people that have like maybe have had any issues anally or otherwise. But I got this from Amazon. This is what it looks like. You put it on your toilet and sit on it, and then you can put whatever it is that is necessary inside the bowl with hot water and warm water and sit on top of it, so that it kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but I hope that from this explanation that I've given, that it kind of makes sense what I'm trying to say. I don't know, girl. I don't know, but like I just feel like I'm just hoping that makes sense, Last thing I have is very, very funny, but it really was a lifesaver for me personally. And this is the Always Discreet Boutique underwear. So this is like for people that have like incontinence issues. What incontinence is, like bladder control issues. So they're basically like adult diapers, but then they're supposed to be like girlier or whatever. I took these with me to the hospital, and I'm so happy I did, because after a while those mesh panties were not doing it for me. This, on the other hand, holds so much. I also mentioned this in my labor and delivery story time, because when my water broke, this is what helped me hold all that water in until I got to the hospital. Like, it takes a lot. So I was using this at night time for the first like 2 or 3 days, because that's when you're like really, really, really bleeding, and it holds so much. And when you're done, you fold it up and you throw it away, because I don't like to keep things that have blood on top them. It just doesn't make any sense. So those are my essentials for now. I would also recommend like painkillers if you're allowed to have painkillers. I've been having like an Advil almost, not every day actually, but I have like maybe at least every 2 or 3 days when I'm like in pain or any kind of discomfort. I have an Advil. You're not a super person. You've already given birth to a child. Congratulations, you've won at life. Now you can take painkillers. It's perfectly fine. So yeah. Next thing we're going to move on to is what to expect. So for me, I didn't really know what to expect with postpartum. Like, I think I had an idea of like the physical parts of it, but then like when it comes to like your vagina area, but I didn't think of it like as a whole. But what it is that I've experienced so far is this: like, aside from the soreness of your vagina literally contracting, you also feel the soreness of your uterus contracting when you breastfeed. You have to experience breastfeeding, which can be very uncomfortable to start off with. You still have a lot of your pregnancy symptoms. So if you're having back pains and stuff like that, the likelihood is that you're still experiencing them. And then, of course, everything rounded up in the bleeding. You are going to be bleeding for quite some time. The hope is that by 6 weeks you've stopped bleeding. But then at the same time, if you are bleeding longer than 6 weeks, that is not unusual either. One of my biggest fears, and it's still currently like a thing for me, is I have just blankly refused to look at my vagina. Like, when I have a bath and I have to like rinse it and stuff like that and clean it, I literally feel like in my heart of hearts, like mentally, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just probably like a giant hole there. So like, even when I'm like going in to rinse, I feel like this is like a little TMI, but this is a postpartum video, so you have to be expecting some kind of TMI. I know it has just been 2 weeks, so that's perfectly fine, but it doesn't feel the same just yet. So it has definitely, like, I've noticed that it is getting smaller and smaller. So yeah, a lot of things don't feel the same. The likelihood is that your hips get wider, like your bones actually move. I feel like my hips have gotten wider, quite subtly, but they've definitely gotten wider. My back pain, your boobs are like huge now, except if you're not breastfeeding, then they were probably only huge for a couple of days, and then that you can fix. But if you're breastfeeding, your boobs are like huge all the time. The likelihood is that one is significantly bigger than the other. So there's always like one main one that is like on its, and then the other one is just like you're walking along casually. So yeah, those are the things that basically I've experienced thus far in my postpartum journey. Every once in a while, I feel like the stitches kind of hurt, maybe I get up too fast, or there's this thing that I do. I basically sit like a boy, like I sit on top of one leg, and I've always done that. Even the day I gave birth, when I was sitting on the bed, like when I was breastfeeding Zoe, I literally sat on my leg, forgetting that I was bleeding and something just came out of there. So there's a lot of like soreness every like other day. You feel it, like you can feel the tissues kind of merging back together and tightening. It's just a lot. And that is it for the physical part. As far as the mental part, there's always going to be that sense of overwhelming everything. Like, the feelings are overwhelming good feelings, they're overwhelming bad feelings. For me, I felt like I was reasonably calm all through my pregnancy. I had days when I cried, but like they weren't really hormonal as much as they were just like a situational kind of crying. But I was calm throughout most of the pregnancy. I was calm even when I was giving birth. I was really calm. And then postpartum, I started off being really calm. And then maybe like 7 days in, one night I just like had like a breakdown where I just cried for like 4 hours. Like I was happy, I was sad, I was scared, I just had lots of feelings, and I'll just look at this child and I'll just be crying. So that is another thing, baby blues. You can expect it because your hormones are like kind of normalizing and stuff like that, and you have to get rid of a lot of stuff. Like it's just going to happen, you will cry. So guys, that is basically what you can expect postpartum. It's a lot of work because you're taking care of yourself, you're also taking care of your child. So I mean, it's always good if you have some extra help, your partner or your parents or your friends or whatever. Take as much help as you possibly can. Anybody that offers you something, take it. Next, what not to do. So going on from this whole thing, the one thing I'll say that is in conjunction with what I just said is, do not decline help, especially from people that have experienced this before. Do not decline help from people. I know you don't like to be an imposition. If you're like me, you hate like being an imposition to anybody. You hate feeling like you're a burden to anybody. But anybody that's willing to help you, whether or not they mean it, whether or not they're even asking just politely, take it. Take the help, because like there's lots of work that goes into raising a child. Scratch that. There's lots of work that goes into keeping a child alive. Because right now, that's the main thing. You've not even started raising a child yet. Your primary goal right now is to keep this child alive. So going in line with that, do not panic. For me, that was a big thing. If you've been here for a while, you know that I have anxiety. So naturally, any little thing that I was seeing in Zoe, I was like panicking. And I think that's the benefit of having other people around you to tell you to kind of relax. And also having a community. I have like at least 2 other friends that one gave birth like 5 days after me, one gave birth 2 days before me. So it's like we are experiencing the same things, and it helps me feel. And another one of my friends gave birth 3 months ago. So it's nice because you're experiencing things together, and you understand that you're not the only person that is suffering. For example, when I first started breastfeeding and my boobs were like sore, I was like, is there something wrong? Like obviously I know that breastfeeding is not supposed to be painful, but then for a lot of people it ends up being painful. That's just another story for another day. But bottom line, I was just like, what is going on? Like, and I had to speak to all these people, and then they were just like, oh yeah, this happened to me as well. And it definitely calms you down. So do not panic. Do not panic. Just try your best to get as much information as possible from your doctor. Try to have your doctor on call. They don't mind, because you are a new mother, and it is your right to ask these questions. So if you have any questions or you're panicking, go straight to sources. Don't go on the internet and start trying to diagnose your child or anything like that. Don't do that. Another thing is hard labor or driving. For the first couple of weeks, just forget about driving anywhere. Just forget about lifting heavy things, especially if you had a C-section. Just relax. As hard as it is to say that, because even me, I'm just I don't even know what relax really means. But try your best to relax. You're not allowed to exercise for 6 weeks, or until your doctor clears you to exercise. You're not allowed to have sex until your doctor clears you to do that as well. But it's so important. As much as it's important to know what to do postpartum, it's really important to know what not to do as well. So I hope that kind of helps. I know that I kind of made everything an abridged version. It's just that at this point in time, I feel like you have so much information being thrown your way. So I'm trying to simplify it to the basic stuff that you need. Anything else that's complicated, your doctor will probably tell you. Next is advice on losing the belly. Now, one of the main things that boils down to is, 1, how big your belly was, 2, maybe your genetics. But notwithstanding those 2 things that I have mentioned, there are things that you can do that kind of help speed it up. The first thing, and I'm sure you've heard this so many times and you're just rolling your friggin' eyes, is to breastfeed. Breastfeeding helps contract your uterus. You can literally feel sometimes when you're breastfeeding your uterus contracting, you can feel it getting smaller and smaller. And the reason that your stomach is big is because your uterus has not shrunken back to the regular size. So a really good way to flatten your stomach is to breastfeed. Secondly is to drink a lot of water to flush everything out of that area. breastfeeding makes you thirsty. So this is also connected. I drink so much water, guys. So I pee so much, and I can literally always feel like my torso area kind of getting smaller and like feeling more relieved. Sorry guys, I thought I heard my baby crying. Okay, no. Anyway, so that is another thing. The third thing is something that is quite traditional that my aunt does for me, and she basically presses my stomach with hot water. Now, the whole idea of pressing your stomach with this hot water is supposed to help your skin like tighten back, your belly skin tighten back. So she uses like a towel and hot water and presses my stomach in the different areas, and then when she's done, she ties it. So you can either tie it with a wrapper if you're trying to be like all traditional, or you can wear a waist trainer. Unless you have a C-section, you are allowed to tie your waist, or you are allowed to wear a corset or whatever from the get-go. As long as something can fit you, feel free to wear it. And this is if you are really concerned about your stomach. I haven't been really good with getting my stomach pursed, just because like it's not comfortable. I've already gone through childbirth. Like, I'm not really trying to have any other pain or any other discomfort, so I'm taking my time with it. I don't get it done every day, but in reality, if you're looking for really quick results, you should press and tie your stomach every day. If you can do it like maybe every night alone, it will make such a significant difference as compared to if you just don't do anything at all, especially because you can't work out anytime soon. So there's that. You can't work out anytime soon. So the most you can do is the things that you can control, like pressing it and tying it, because there's no exercise involved in that. So those are the things I'm currently doing. Anything else that I find, I will add on as time goes along, maybe in the description box. So feel free to check that to see if I've added anything on. My primary concern right now is the darkness. Some people are telling me that it take like a year to fade. Some people are telling me it take like 6 months. I just don't know. I'm not planning to wear like crop tops or anything like that, but then again, what if I want to? Do you understand? Like, it's really superficial considering that I pushed out a child, but like, you know how sometimes you just fixate on really weird things. That's my current fixation. Like, my stomach being dark is a fixation of mine. Last thing I'm going to talk about is stitches and all, which basically fits into every other category, to be completely honest. Depending on how bad your stitches are will determine how long it also takes to heal. So if you have like 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, or 4th degree, it takes different amounts. Let me just simplify this for you now. 1st degree is the easiest / best type. You probably will only have like 4 or 5 stitches. 4th degree is like you've torn so much, like from the beginning of your vagina to the beginning of your anus, you've probably torn, and that is like the worst kind of tearing that you can have. That takes a really long time to heal as well. Man, it's just a lot. Like I said, I've spoken about my own experience in my labor and delivery story time, so feel free to check that out. I also have my labor and delivery vlog up, kind of emotional and stuff. Like, I haven't even, since I like edited it and uploaded it, I have refused to watch it myself, because like I'm not a hard guy anymore. Like, I cry for everything now, so I don't want to watch it so I don't cry again. But I hope that you found this video really helpful. If you are expecting a child, congratulations to you. It is not easy, but it is totally worth it. I can tell you that for free. And I've only had her for 2 weeks. Let me just say that. I've only had her for 2 weeks. But yes, I'm still going to be making a bunch of baby related videos. I'm going to be making a newborn essential videos because it was requested by somebody that I really care about. And yeah, I'm going to be answering some questions, any questions that you guys have. I'm definitely going to do, like, when I'm done with all the videos that I feel like I have to make, then I'll just do a general Q&A to answer the last minute questions, so I can kind of get those out of the way. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for supporting me all through my pregnancy, all through everything. Thank you for all those showing love to my baby Ire. I really appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the presents. I appreciate all the prayers, everything. And yeah, I will speak to you guys in another video. Before I go, do not forget that you are sugar, you are spice, and you are bomb ass jello fries, honey. Bye guys. Mwah.